As the world faces a growing energy crisis, record greenhouse gas concentrations, and an increasing extreme weather events, COP27 seeks renewed solidarity between countries to deliver on the landmark Paris Agreement for people and the planet. We've often talked about the role that the travel industry needs to play in driving change from within, how we need to become better informed about our own impact, the impact of our properties, services, and itineraries have on the planet and local communities. In September, we asked our community what the main blockers and challenges were when it comes to being sustainable in business. Here's how they answered. 37% said limited resource to invest into improving healthy and sustainable practices. 33% said knowledge missing to help create products and services that encourage a more sustainable lifestyle. And 28% the belief that the travel industry can be completely sustainable. Other reasons included little internal motivation to make change, little consumer interest to book sustainably, and being unsure of where to start. We sincerely believe that travel decision makers and agencies are the true challengers and influencers of today, and it's up to all of us here to drive the change. So during this session, we hope you're able to inspire some thought leadership on this very important subject. To address this, we're thrilled to welcome and introduce you to Diana Verde Nieto, co-founder and CEO of Positive Luxury, which is the company behind the butterfly mark. This is a unique interactive trust mark awarded to luxury lifestyle brands in recognition of their commitment to having a positive impact on people and our planet. Diana is a globally recognized figure in the sustainability field, honored by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader in 2011. She serves on many advisory boards and was recently given an honorary professorship at the Glasgow Caledonian University. So it's with great pleasure that I pass over to Diana. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And the first thing I have to say is thank you. I'd learned to say domo arigato, everybody, for having me here today. Like Greg said, we help companies to adapt to a new climate economy. Climate change is a big issue, and I don't think that is possible, neither those politicians and global leaders, that can actually be solved. So we, as business leaders, as a human race, we will need to adapt a transition to a new climate economy. At Positive Luxury, we work with luxury lifestyle brands across 7 verticals, including travel and hospitality, premium drinks, fashion, beauty, etc. And when people say, is it hard to transition to ESG, which is short for environmental, social, and governance practices of sustainability, I said no. And it's not. Because when you break things down, and actually you can wrap your arms around it, and you are consistent and methodic about it, you can do anything. Run a marathon, run an Ironman, lift weights, anything, including transition to a new sustainable economy. So this is a really good framework that we actually utilize. We borrow some stuff from GRI reporting, the new regulations called TCFD, the SASB reporting tools, and of course the Sustainable Development Goals to develop this framework that enable businesses to methodically address and transition to this new way of living and thinking, not just for travel and hospitality, but actually globally. So the way that we work is first and foremost, see where you are, and then what is material risk to your business? Every business has a risk. And then what are the steps that not just you, but your teams will have to make in order to get to, a really good a place to start working through, actions to achieve this sustainability. And when you achieve 50% across each one of the areas of ESG, you get about the butterfly mark. And I'm sure you have your phones, do you? Shoot. And this is what happens. You get the butterfly mark, and actually we give you a QR code that you can utilize across any channels, either digitally, physically, so you can use it on menus, on brochures, on the web, and in a very easy way, anyone, your investors, your customers, your consumers, can really understand and discover what you do. So if you scroll down, you can see exactly what the company does in a very transparent way, very easy to understand. And on the other hand, we give you a dashboard like Google Analytics that enables you to see what is the ROI of your sustainability investment. Sustainability is not a cost. It's a survival tax that every business will have to pay sooner rather than later. So, what to do and why to do it, especially for the travel industry, it's a no-brainer. So instead of telling you about it, I will borrow some, some of the wisdoms of Japanese culture, and I will show you so you remember.
Suddenly, saving our planet is within reach. We've worked out all the problems. We're working on all the solutions. Most of them we can do now, and over time, all of them help the economy. Our population growth is actually slowing down, and by the end of the century, it will plateau. There's never been a better opportunity to take control. The plan is obvious. Stop doing the damaging stuff. Roll out the new green tech and systems as they arrive. Stabilize the human population as low as we fairly can. Keep hold of the natural wealth we have currently got, and in 80 years' time, we'll be past the worst of it. More than that, we'll have built a world with eternal energy, clean air and water, a stable, healthy world that we can benefit from forever. So what's stopping us? This opportunity is out of sight. Each of us is blinkered by the demands of here and now. Big picture, long term, they're not in our field of vision. That must change if we're going to change. We now have the choice to create a planet that we can all be proud of, our planet. The perfect home for ourselves and the rest of life on Earth. We have a plan. We know what to do. There is a path to sustainability. If enough people can see the path, we may just start down it in time.
So, why is this important for you? Why the travel and hospitality industry sustainability is one of the main risks for your business? Anyone? No? This is your business. You sell destinations. You sell experiences. You sell living in a place or going to a place that is sunny, not like outside. It should be cold, is not. We need a stability in food. We need a stability in, energy. And if we carry on in this path, we can't actually get to that. So collective action is needed. It's not about you or me, it's about everyone, and actually all the people that are not in this room. And this is the work I have set off to do 25 years ago, which makes me a dinosaur. But actually it's incredibly rewarded because for the last 25 years progress has been made. And I have incredible hope that we can accelerate this up to 2050. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to carry on with the bad news before I deliver some good news for you. So what can we expect for next year? Many things: volatility, energy prices, supply chain insecurity, and of course, we will have only 1.6% of growth as inflation keep biting across the world. Japan is actually here. The kind of deep purple, like the UK, Europe, Russia, of course, are in deep, deep mud. The reds and the lighter countries are the ones actually in growth. The only country with actually double-digit growth is Vietnam. China will still have a slump for 4.7% after have delivered double digits for so many years. And when you look at recession is ahead for Europe, the US have slow growth. So the world looks a little bit bleak for 2023, but actually means that we are in an equalized or almost in an equal playing field as a country, as a globe, which basically means opportunity for everybody. Innovation is key for survival in the next probably 2 or 3 years. And sustainability is important for the travel and hospitality industry because, travelers think that travelers think that it's vital to have sustainable travel. 69% actually find that there need to be more sustainable options, more curated options. And also, after the pandemic, people want to live in a better world. But not all is bad. I mean, there has been some, what I call low-hanging fruits done in many, many hotels, especially, which is reducing plastic use, food waste, recycle items, and use sustainable packaging. And this is kind of good, but it's definitely not enough. If we go back to the chart I showed you earlier, it's about systemic change. So how do you do this systemically and in unison? So let's go into a little more into Japan, and what does it mean for Japan? Japan is actually a country that knows environmental risk very, very well. And I'm not going to go into the details because the Japanese people in the room knows all the kind of adversity that you had in the last probably 40, 50 years in terms of environmental disasters. But actually, Japan is 38 of the 97 economies in the Environmental Sustainability Index. It's been ranked 28 from 97 countries regarding biodiversity and forestry, and they have done an incredible job in conservation, reservation, and rewilding in terms of the natural environment. The country has ranked 20 into water conservation, and this has been absolutely phenomenal because not only is looking at conservation water, rainwater capture, but also is about how are they looking and managing actual reservoirs. Food is available and affordable, and actually food security, Japan is probably one of the best places to be. It's ranked 24 for food security going forward. Of course, in some areas, and it's of course with 130 million people living in the country, you could not expect expect less, which is obviously pollution is not amazing and is ranked 50 from 97 countries, and also is one of the least resilient economies globally because of all the different risks that Japan has been placed. Well, some of them you felt it yesterday when you had an earthquake in the middle of the day. But what can we learn from other countries? How can we actually look at what happened in other countries? So Iceland ranks number 1. Of course, it's a smaller economy, but what they have done is, first and foremost, manage influx of tourism, look at how is that managed with local economy, and how is that can be preserved for the local economies. Also, they have done a great job in terms of safety after COVID, and has been certified and in the process of certification for other marks in terms of quality and environmental practices. And sustainability is taking care also in other areas. So, for example, in Europe, France has been the first country in the world that has banned short flights. So when you can take the train in any destinations over less than 2 hours, you should take the train, because it's forbidden, it's illegal to actually take a plane. Austria has done exactly the same thing, and this is not isolation cases. This is going to become something that is going to be regulated also around the world. So who are the offenders? Of course, as you can see, aviation and road transport and other transport like cruises are the offenders. But in their defense, technology is not yet available in order to actually not to make them the offenders. So when you say, oh yeah, but you came in a plane, well, I couldn't swim to Japan. I would love to, but I couldn't. So I have to take a plane. Now, the choices as a consumer is, okay, if it's a direct flight, it has less impact. That is actually through, I have a stopover. But then how do I do it? What do I do? Do I eat local food? Tick. Do I take public transport? Tick. What other things I'm doing to actually help the local economy? So please stop blaming, and this is not to you, it's to the entire world, the travel and cruise industries and transport industry for the shortfallings. Technology is not there. SAF, which is sustainable aviation fuel, is available now. Most airlines are adopting at least 20% on their tanks for SAF. Some other airlines, like Emirates, is getting to 50%, and private airlines actually do 100% of tank with SAF, and actually the passenger co-pay the tank with the airline. So this is definitely a sustainable option. It's going to take a while, and because the scale is not there. So as we are moving to green hydrogen, because hydrogen actually is not the solution, because that also comes from some kind of fossil fuel, until we move to green hydrogen and work out a better solution for fuel, they will still remain and continue to be the offenders. However, that is not an excuse to not to do anything. So if you ate a massive meal, maybe don't have dessert or go for a walk. But if you eat the entire meal and dessert and you sit on the couch, you will put weight on. Just as an example. This is the thing that bothers me. Anyhow, so as you can see, there is things that anyone can do. Accommodation have 6% of emissions. Food and beverage is 9%. Construction is only 3%. So build or new builds are fantastic because they actually can be embedded new materials and actually new way of building in order to actually make the hotels more sustainable. Services 8%, agriculture specifically for food and beverages 8%, and then retail is 15%. So we can do something. And the other things that we haven't talked about is legislation. Legislation is coming thick and fast and is coming across every area. So by 2030, what we call asset-light players like OTAs and travel agencies will need to change their widths by 2030 and will need to start reporting by that time in terms of your emissions and other, not just carbon, but across ESG. By 2040, hotels and lodging will have to take accountability and responsibilities of your emissions. And of course, by 2050, we got aviation and cruises to actually make them accountable. This is not a choice. Sustainability is a new business model which has to be embraced by everybody. And this is not for the greater good in the world. It makes money. It makes financial sense to start thinking about now, because when the context start moving and changing, you will be in a fantastic position, in a great opportunity to lead instead of to trying to catch the bus. So, we break down the scopes. Scope 1 is what you do. Scope 2 is stuff that you share. Scope 3 are your suppliers. And this is about emissions, biodiversity, social impact, many of those things. So when you look at accommodation, you can read this and you can actually pick and choose where you are and actually understand. And the team at Connections will share this presentation so you can actually have it, and so don't worry about taking pictures. But as you can see, there's still a lot of things that you can do. When you think about travel agents and tour operators, you need to think about department stores. Are you familiar with Selfridges? How many of you are familiar with Selfridges? Okay, Saks Fifth Avenue? Okay, so what retailers do is the power that you guys have in your hands is tremendous. It's tremendous because you choose what to buy, where to buy. So when you walk into Selfridges, you have a million fashion brands and etc. And they have a policy about buying better. So the first thing is you reduce your own emissions. They have reduced their own emissions and have a very clear roadmap in terms of how to continue doing that. The second point is, what do they buy? And when do they buy and how they buy? So for example, you will not find fur at Selfridges. You will not find exotic skins at Selfridges. You will not find clothes that are made from mixed fabrics for recycling, recycled mixed fabrics, etc., etc., etc. So the question for you is, what are you prepared not to do? What are the things that you will not sell? What are the things that you will demand from your partners in order to make your offering more sustainable? Sorry. And now it's, well, first and foremost, thank you very much for your time. And I left you with more questions than answers, hopefully, because in that way we can grow together. So I'll pass it on to Greg. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. No, thank you very much for taking the time and making the journey for us. And on the Q&A front, we might have a little bit of time to test Diana at the end with the Q&A session. But for now, we would love to hear from you. So you'll see on your tables, you've got questions. We've got two teams. We've got Sakura team and we've got Sake team. So from Sakura, we want to know, what changes do you want to see from suppliers by 2030? Sake team, what actions are you taking to improve society, the environment, and the global economy by 2030? So just a small question for you there. How this is going to work is, before you do anything at all, you're going to nominate a speaker on your table, okay? Following that, we're going to give you 10 minutes to discuss the topic and consolidate your notes. So you'll also need a scribe. And then we're going to pick on a few tables and give you 1 minute and 1 minute only to present your findings to the rest of the group. Okay, does that sound good? Time starts now. Okay, guys, I'm sure you're sorry to hear, but time is up. Now, I know these were very big questions to answer in a very short amount of time, but that is exactly the point. Okay, we want to get you thinking and then we want to hear what the tables have to say. So everyone should have only one of the questions on their table, with the exception of my chairman's table, where we left both as an additional challenge. Have we got any volunteers in the audience? Do we have a table that would like to volunteer to go first? Great stuff. Sadia is coming over. So if I could ask the speaker to read their question before reading the answers, that would be fantastic. And remember, you have 1 minute. Okay, Carlo, over to you.
I think we created a policy here in this table. We picked two, air and of course hotel. Very quickly, clear roadmap on adopting fuel efficiency from the airlines. Less business class and first class, so we can add more seats for the economy. Everyone can travel more, say one plane. Banning, well, not banning, quite less private jets, since we are doing the rules less than 2 hours, no plane. And then on the hotel, very fast, because I can see the time. It's not about changing the bed sheets, yes or no for 1 day or 3 days, but really actionable, tangible ROI, where you can actually make an impact and show the guests that what they can relate it to. And most importantly is global rating. Rather than just a logo, go further, but what the actual rating will be for a supplier or any partners between a category. That is really important, so people can relate straight away to what they're doing.
Hi.
Hello.
Well done, Carlo. Thank you very much for that. I think you almost made it. So, do we have any more volunteers? Oh, fantastic. Over to table number 3. Thomas, we've got Sadia there.
Coming to you in a second. Come to you in a bit.
You've gone the wrong way.
Okay, so Team Saki, that was our question. Less plastic use and waste in hotels, such as the bottled water on your table. Down in Tokushima, there's a hotel that's zero waste, I think it's Kamikatsu, right? Product development for carbon offset. Let your imagination go wild. Only offering our clients sustainable choices. Educate our clients on sustainable options such as non-polluting transportation, such as subway, buses, and your feet. Walk. Only flush once in your... Don't sleep in your bed, sleep on the floor so that you don't have to change your sheets. Less sex so you don't soil your sheets. Change what we do in our daily lives. Serious. To be continued.
Nice work, Thomas. Thank you. I think it might have been fortunate that we ran out of time on that one. Thank you very much. Okay. So have we got more volunteers? Table number 8.
Utilize refillables for toiletry items. I think some of the major brands are already doing this, like Marriott, where all of the bathroom products are refillable rather than recycled or sample-sized toiletries. For hotel partners, another 60% recyclables by 2030 for the products that they use for guest consumption. Solar panels, 20% panels for energy use production by 2030, along with hydrogen. Water reduction technology, for example, shower heads, we should all be requiring or insisting that our hotel partners put those in all of the bathrooms. Low flow toilets, the kind that kind of put that jet kind of pressure through, which minimizes water use, as well as zero water use public toilets for men. I don't know if anyone's familiar. In the United States, in Los Angeles, they have urinals that utilize no water. 60% hydrogen, 60% electric, 50% hybrid, and other minimal polluting vehicles for our players.
Great stuff, Joe. Thank you very much. So I reckon we have time for 2 more tables. Have we got any more volunteers? Or do we have to do this the hard way? Table 4, Hazel, wonderful. Over to you.
Thank you. From the travel agent side, we talked about working with cars that are electric, booking nonstop flights, even though they cost more. For the hotel side, stop the use of plastics and use natural and sustainable materials. Use local produce more and import less food. And give clients the choice of not changing towels and sheets every day. And that's it.
Wow. Great job. Yeah, exactly. You're well practiced. Hazel was with us a few weeks ago. I think there's no way I'm going to skip on table number 1. Who's the speaker here?
But who's the speaker?
Mr. Jacobs.
So, but no notes because I didn't realise we could do 2. So I'm gonna be a bit contrary about this because I feel that we know that the climate is changing. You only have to look outside at the green leaves on the trees. So I think the industry needs to educate governments of the importance that the industry has to the overall well-being of the planet. We need to do all the sustainable things, of course, but we mustn't allow our industry to be affected just as it was in COVID, because now it's a climate emergency. It's not just climate change. And that is a threat that we all face, so we need to work hard to make sure that governments don't use a stick to beat us, so that we can continue to do good, because this industry does good for the world.
Thank you, Clive. That was a bit of a mic drop moment, so I don't think anyone will follow that. I was worried about Adam putting the klaxon on. I thought that might be the last time we see Adam at a Connections event. So fortunately, we do have a few minutes for a Q&A with Diana while we have her here. So I'd really encourage you to use that time. Sadia, if you're okay to run the mic to the audience. And has anyone got anything they'd like to ask? We're all friends about sustainability. Pick Positive Luxury's brains and what you might be able to do better. Fantastic. Thomas.
I'll call him back. Are you optimistic about the future when it comes to sustainability? You've been at it for 30 years, since you were 2, but what do you think?
Thank you. I will break your question down into answers. I'm not optimistic about the future if we don't collaborate and change. That's why I chose not to have kids. But I am optimistic about future generations. I think that what has changed when I started my career to today is the fact that sustainability is taught at schools. Young people have now is holding us accountable for our actions. And I think that only by collaborating, which a lot of industries are doing that, we can actually get out of the mess. I don't think we can avoid the trajectory that we are going towards because we are too fast, too deep. But we are great animals to adapt. So I think adaptation will be number 1 thing that we all will have to do. I don't know what adaptation will mean for countries like India when this summer they have 56 degrees. So climate refugees is going to be perhaps something that we all going to be hearing about, and that is 1.3 billion people migrating from country to country. Food scarcity and different types of proteins will be in the cards. Energy security and, of course, water are the biggest risks for humanity. So I think the world is going to change even faster than it's changing now. But what gives me hope is that alphas, I don't know, how many you have kids between 0 to 12 years old? Hands up? Right, you guys are in trouble. Because those guys are to sustainability what millennials were to technology. So that generation will be the generation that will change our future. But my grandfather said to me once, and I never forget, he said to me, "You do not plant a tree to sit at the shade of it. You plant a tree for the people that will come behind you." So I don't think we will see, I personally, I'm 50 now, I don't think I will be around to see what the world will look like. But I hope I will do my absolute best to make sure that the ones that have the 10-year kids, that their children have a childhood in the way that I had. So I'm still going for gold. You're welcome.
I just wanted to think we have to not always complain about what we did and what we do. And one very important thing for travel industry is to get the world together. You know, to let us be friends. And if we will be successful in getting each other together, you know what the first point would be, and where we could save a lot of energy and whatever, if we avoid wars. So what we do we talk about a bottle of plastic. We talk about the car we are using is running on fuel and not on electricity or whatever. And then if we look at the moment to a country like Ukraine, I believe in one day they do more bad things to the environmental and whatever than we do all over the world with our cars. So the best thing travel industry could do is to bring the people together and not to fight to each other. Because every day of war is more terrible for our Earth than if you just go by car from here to there.
You know, I'm sorry, we had this conversation over lunch with Akito-san. Japan is not a stranger to war and warfare. Go to Hiroshima. And we have somebody in Russia with the same power plane. But the fact that this could happen doesn't avoid our individual and global responsibility to act now and to ensure that what we are doing is the best that we can possibly do. And there is companies like Connections that have you all together from all over the world, being here, talking to each other, and finding ways to connect and to work and to think how can collectively have collective action for good. So, yeah, it's not just Ukraine that is in war. Ukraine is in war around the corner, but, you know, look around. The map is all flagging. But the reality is that we can't look at the neighbor and say, well, because you're doing that, I'm not going to do my bit. So, yeah, I agree. The welfare, the whole kind of war is incredibly damaging for the world and obviously the local communities and so on. I mean, I was talking to somebody here that is no stranger to us since she was born, you know, but I grew up in dictatorship and we all have a story, but doesn't stop me to do my best. And I think that this should not stop anyone, any company, any government to try, at least to try, because, you know, this is all we have. This one circular thing that holds us all together. So it's about accountability. And governments are actually putting that accountability together. So from a legal perspective, we have the US and we've got the EU they launched what's called the TCFD, which is a task for financial disclosure. This is not for climate, it's financial disclosure, in which companies that are listed will have to disclose their financial kind of impact as well as the climate impact. SMEs from 2026 will have to do exactly the same thing. And then going forward, most companies will have to have a financial disclosure as well as a climate disclosure. Biodiversity, we haven't talked about this, but COP15 is about to happen in Montreal in December, in which, is what we're going to do with the biodiversity of this world. So if this planet is not good enough for animals to live as they are being extinct, and for plants to live, we are apes. I mean, sophisticated ones, but we're still monkeys. So we will have the same fate that everybody else. So we all live in this place, and I don't think that Elon can pull off Mars quick enough for all of us. So I think we should keep trying. I do agree with that, but do you know what? He has the money to be able to offset it if he wants it to. Sorry.
Oh. I was just going to ask you a question. Your passion, by the way, and if it wasn't for people like yourself, the world will be a poorer place, that's for sure. But do you not feel that there is a balance that has to be had here? Because some of the effects that we're seeing at the moment, for example, you're talking about governments. During COVID, a lot of governments didn't follow the protocols for a virus of the type COVID has been. Their actions have created a global recession. The actions of COVID, just look at the masks, and we talk about plastics. How many billion masks have gone into the system? So the reason I'm asking this question is, what I'm seeing at the moment is that this race for net zero could have a catastrophic reverse impact. Because if the advanced economies of the world head backwards because of this oppression on capitalism, which is so far the only proven sustainable model to keep us going forward. If economies go backwards because their race for net zero is so great that they're actually creating poverty in advanced countries, how on earth do we think that the developing world will ever be in a position to contribute to the sustainability of the planet?
With all your respect, I disagree with you. And I'll tell you why. I can prove it. So there is $1 trillion in asset management today on sustainable businesses. Companies that you probably are familiar with, which is Unilever, has actually have changed the way that they report. They moved from quarterly reporting to yearly reporting. They have changed the mindset of shareholders. And the financial performance of Unilever has been absolutely tremendously profitable and tremendously good over the leadership of Paul Polman. They are not the only company in which, when they look at sustainability as a way of shifting the business model and actually looking at massive reductions in the way they operate, they actually are more profitable, not less profitable. So sustainability is a money issue. And this is why last year, in the last COP, Mark Carney have launched what is called the Glasgow Task Force for Financial Investment, and it's the first time that all banks and the investment community has actually created incentives for companies that actually are investing in ESG principles. The investment community are basically now funding companies with ESG principles because take the risk out of the financial community, and companies that are not looking at climate and actual risk and risk management are going to be not getting the financial returns, the financial commitment from the investment community today. So in the very short term, when you think about as the legislation is actually in the process of changing and the process of banks reassessing the way that they lend money to governments, they lend money to individuals, they lend money to companies. ESG is becoming the buzzword for the investment community because about risk management. So if you don't manage your climate risk today, it's very likely that businesses will not exist. And I will ask you to stop and think about Nokia. How many of you remember Nokia? Okay, what happened to them? Oh, wait, yes, this crazy guy came from nowhere and actually did things differently, thought differently. And who is the most profitable technology company in the world with, I think it's $1 trillion in the bank today? You know the answer.
But can I come back? Because what you're talking about mega companies, when the reality is, across the planet, 85% of businesses have less than 50 employees. So, again, governments talk to these big, large corporations who are, for sure, most able to do this. But 85% of capitalism is small businesses that cannot feasibly do what is being required of them and will be putting a lot of them out of business. If you want a world where it's just big corporations and big government, that's certainly not a world I want to live in.
No, but I disagree with that as well, because if you think about all the companies that are being started today, they have sustainability embedded into the business model. So it's the middle tier, the ones that are in the crunch, because they are like, okay, what do I do? But when you have leadership that is, it's not just about, okay, the straight money, is how are they going to get money from investors? How are they going to get their shareholders? And even if they're small companies, they still need investors.
Well, no, but most of these type of businesses are small, privately owned businesses that normally people borrow money from banks against their properties.
The banks will not give you the money unless you have a sustainability
but that's what I'm
plan.
saying. No, but that's what I'm saying. So the risk here, just back to my original point, which is the drive for net zero, I believe, and my question was, what is going to be the price? I personally believe, answering my own question, is the price that the future will see lots of large corporations and lots of smaller, more entrepreneurial businesses, which currently make up the mainstay of all businesses, disappearing because it's just too cumbersome and difficult, because it's the pace of change that governments, you mentioned Mark Carney earlier, people in government, they proved it in COVID, they do not understand how businesses operate. They just have got no clue. It's like the current Prime Minister of Britain.
Oh, God.
He's
I need a drink.
He worked for Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs doesn't, that's not the real world. The real world are people working 12 hours a day, houses that are mortgaged, and that they put their own blood, sweat and tears into running their businesses. These people don't understand that. The politicians don't understand that, because today most politicians have never worked. They went to university, got into politics. They have no idea how the real world works. In this room are a lot of travel agents who have their own businesses or work for smallish businesses. I'm sure they will utterly relate to what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the pace of change needs to be more measured and more careful. And we need to make sure that that's understood from a smaller business perspective, because the WF is a good example. I've been out to Geneva. It's all big companies. The people that go to the WF are all big corporations or famous entrepreneurs of larger businesses. But as I say, there needs to be an understanding that 85% of all businesses at the moment are small businesses, and the language is completely different. That was my point.
Of course, and I get it. We are a small business. I'm an entrepreneur. I have funded my business. I understand you more than you can actually say, because I am in the same boat that most of you guys. The difference is the fact that because we have actually totally do and walk the talk, I can actually say by doing it, that and working with small companies, we have a lot of companies. I mean, 80% of actually the businesses that we work with are small businesses. They are growth companies. We have actually managed to be able to reduce internal costs and actually get them better funded. So family offices also want to fund businesses that have the green agenda at the heart of it. And this is kind of becoming the trend across the world. So yeah, I hear you. And the change of pace is sometimes uncomfortable, but we don't have time. So that's the trade-off. Thank you, though, for the challenge.
Ding, 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 ding. That's round one. Round two can go afterwards. No, a bit of healthy debate. I think we don't have enough of that at our events. That's wonderful. So thank you, everyone, for embracing the session so well.